Hey, it's Anya.
It's your girl, Nadia.
What's up, guys? It's Trent.
And I'm Ramesh, and we are The Community. We're covering the latest in pop culture, politics, and everything in between. Let's get started. Welcome to week 3 of The Community, everybody. How's everybody's week been?
Hey, my week has been long. We have been actually quarantined. So yeah, there's that. My mom actually had to take the COVID test today. So she actually got the swab up her nose. She did say that while it was uncomfortable, it's not as painful as everybody is exaggerating it to be.
Not as intrusive.
Yeah, so that's been my week. And now I'm making spinach dip for the first time.
Yeah, come on that. I got the swab. I heard you talk about it. Okay, let me tell y'all about the swab.
Yes.
You know, social media don't lie sometimes. They just don't be, they don't be too far.
It'll be accurate.
Yeah, right. But like the lady say, it was like when you snort coke, that burning sensation.
Thank you, mommy. Congratulations. No, that's it, because that is it. On the internet.
No, but I don't snort coke. I just want to clear that out, okay? Don't snort coke. But it had a very burning sensation for about 2 minutes in each nostril. Like, once they do the first nostril and it starts to burn, you just tell them, hold on, wait a minute, let that cool off. And then it cools off very quickly, and then they do the next nostril. So it was pretty good.
So I'm someone who suffers from sinus, so just rubbing a tissue across my nose causes me to sneeze. How would that happen? How does that work?
Well, the swab that they use is very fine. Mm-hmm. So once they push it down the nostril, they do it very gently. So it's like you basically, it's not like a Q-tip like with a lot of fur on it. It's just, it has a very fine point.
Okay.
So you
may sneeze.
Yeah. No.
Because it doesn't necessarily rub the hairs in my nose. It just goes straight.
No, because they're going all the way back down to the nostrils.
Okay.
So you may just give a gentle push on them, but it's okay.
Okay.
Not too bad.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
That's it.
Y'all just make sure I don't snort coke.
All right, guys. So for those of you who are not aware, that is my mother. She is actually a healthcare worker. She is a phlebotomist. And just as a precautionary measure, their team is being tested. So today she went down along with some other nurses and doctors, just because the exposure in the hospital could be, it's more dire than us who would go out into the general public. That is Pauline, guys. That is Pauline. That is who I've been living with forever. Okay, so that's her personality. That's my week.
Makes quarantine fun.
Trent, how's your week been going?
My week has been okay. I've been doing absolutely nothing. I didn't last week. Feeling a little discouraged because I've been eating bad, but hey, it happens. I'll get back on track soon.
Okay. Lady A, the workout guru.
It's been pretty good. I'm a little bit like Trent. I mean, it was hard to get through my workouts this week. However, I made it, except for today, but But it's a pretty good week. It's all right. Nothing horrible. I think I'm ready to get back to work. Shocker, but I actually am ready to get some kind of work, some kind of socializing. It's been rough.
So for me this week, I think that I've just been a bit over ambitious in everything that I've been doing. So I enrolled in 4 certification courses. I have been cooking nonstop, and not just food that I am familiar with. I currently have 2 sets of dough in the fridge, cooling down or whatever it's supposed to do in the fridge. because I'm making pizza today. Yeah, I've even actually been looking at different things to enhance my job. So once I return, I can just move full force in it. So I think I've been pretty proactive this week, all while attempting to diet and exercise. So yeah, that's been my week. Yes, you know.
I can't say about the dieting. It's not
So let's dive into a new segment that we're starting today. Oh, but before we do that, a lot of our listeners and now viewers may notice that we are one team member short. So Ashley has decided that she wanted to commit to the CommuniTEAM on a more assistant basis versus being a full-time team member. So you may see her pop in and out from time to time, but the 4 individuals that you see now, even though Natty just walked out of frame, we are officially the CommuniTEAM, all right? So we look forward to presenting some great content for you in the future and helping you to step away from the reality of the world for 1 quick hour just to escape and have a little bit of fun with us. So let's dive into our first segment. It's time for the QuaranTINDER. So Nadia, what's the QuaranTINDER of the week?
All right, guys. So I even stopped chopping my spinach for this. So the QuaranTINDER of the week is going to be online dating, or as I like to call it, QuaranTINDER. So there was an article on MSNBC that indicated that dating apps have had increased activity since the beginning of, the lockdown and quarantine. So I myself wanted to test out that notion. I will say that I have downloaded a multitude of dating apps. Okay, no shame in my game. And there's definitely a plethora of persons to pick from. So, usually you have Tinder, which is where you swipe right if you like them, swipe left if you don't. There's another platform called Hinge. So Hinge is actually more stateside based. However, you do find, at least I found, some Bahamians on that as well. You have Bumble, which is where the woman actually is going to be the person that initiates a conversation. So the woman has 24 hours. Right. So that's the difference. Like, they all have different objects or ways that you can utilize them. But I'm very interested to understand, everybody's take on what online dating is. For me, I think it's great. I think it's a way that persons are able to actually connect with other human beings during quarantine, because you literally cannot go to a restaurant and have a date with somebody now. And then also, I think for those who want to get a little bit naughty or raunchy, there's still a virtual way of doing things. I'm just putting it out there because that too is off limits. So I want to know what you guys think, or what's your stance on online dating, 1, during quarantine, and 2, in general, because do you think that it's a sustainable way of meeting persons? Do you actually prefer the more traditional physical interaction? Because one thing I think is that after quarantine, a lot of things are going to be more digital now. It's going to be the age of technology. So curious to hear your thoughts.
So go on.
I don't think I'm off and on about it. I'm more like, I would like to meet face to face, but I think when you're first meeting someone, it's okay to do it on the app. You can get the basic get to know you there on the app, but then eventually the face to face is always good. But I mean, like you're saying, during this time right now, we're unable to go out and say, have dinners, go to movies, go on dates. So these apps are a good way to meet different people, especially outside of your country, or even, outside of the little circle that you have. So I don't think it's a bad thing, but for me, I'm not against it, but I'm not a big fan of it either. I don't think that I would say sign up for all of these. If I do, I probably would try one and then go from there. So for me, it's 50-50.
But what's your fare? What's your fare about, or what's the agenda behind you not necessarily being a fan of it? Like, what do you think about it? Do you think it's not sustainable? Do you think it's because it's promoting long distance relationships rather than in the same proximity? Like, what do you think?
I'm thinking more so like you could be catfish. Let's just start with that. This could be a whole different person because anybody can post a picture. But I think, does any of these apps actually allow you to like video call? Because a picture is one thing. I can go and take anyone's picture and post it and say that's me. And I could be talking to someone and I'm falling in love with this picture or this idea of this person who it really may not be. So for me, that's one of the first things. Like, I could be catfished.
No, that's great. So I know that one of the platforms, I think it's Hinge. Hinge actually allows you to video time with the person. It's actually, so I don't know if you guys are aware, but what the dating apps do, or what some of them try to do, is based on your preferences, they try to match you up or give you a plethora of picks based on your choice and based on your preferences. So based on what they think is a match for you are the persons that would come up on your feed, right? So with Hinge actually takes it a step further. And every day, they actually give you a person who is about 90% or more matched to you. So they'll say, hey, Anya, I think you and Ramesh are perfect for each other. You guys should talk. After they've noticed that you've been connecting with that person for a couple of times, then they'll pop back in and say, hey, guys, you've been talking to Ramesh for so long. Have you guys video chatted yet? If not, here's how. So they do offer that. Now, that's only Hinge that I know about. I think Tinder is still just a photo. And you can meet freaks on these platforms too. But let's be clear, you're not gonna meet everybody who's normal.
Right.
So for me, I'm an introvert, believe it or not. So it's for me a little bit easier to use an app like Tinder to meet someone because I don't have to have that interaction face to face initially. So I get to build this, I guess, rapport with someone prior to actually meeting them face to face. So it's not just me meeting a stranger, it's me meeting someone that I've communicated with, shared some personal details with, and now we're just actually meeting face to face. So that's the benefit of it. The downside is, being catfished or being ghosted. So it's not someone who I've met or someone who I may have their number. It's literally me depending on someone on this app to say, okay, I messaged her at 2 o'clock. Let's hope by 4 o'clock I hear back from her, because if not, then I have to either message someone else or just hope that she was busy. So that's the only uncertainty about online dating versus meeting face-to-face. Now, meeting face-to-face, you can also be profiled. So I like to dress well. So going to a bar dressed well, persons may have the perception, well, he has money, and then I become a target. Versus online dating, they can't see who I am. I can literally lie to them and tell them, I drive a 1993 Chevrolet car.
Nothing wrong with a Chevy, honey.
Are you okay with that? And it helps to know if she is more of a materialistic person or if she really is looking for that soulmate. So there are some pros and cons to it all. I'm definitely a supporter of online dating.
It's not for me personally, but I support it.
Okay.
Why is it not for you?
Right.
What is it about it?
For me, I personally like to assess the situation. I like to assess the chemistry. I like to assess the person and my reaction to the person. And I can't do that via online. Now, the good thing about doing it online is that you can match basic compatibilities before you actually meet a person and waste your time. But I prefer to do it in person. So the good thing about it is finding a match or someone close to your match. And then the con to it is the few bad apples. There are a lot of bad apples on it. There are a lot of persons on those websites that discourage others from fully enjoying the experience. It's like catfishing.
I agree. It can be a little bit daunting because at the end of the day, you really don't know if the person you are speaking to or the persons that are on the website are actually genuine, or if they have your same interests at heart. Like, you could be doing it genuinely, and then someone could, like Remy says, you could become a target. Like, they could actually like lure you out to a place and try and rob you, or it could be a hate crime because of all different reasons, whether it's gender, race, it could be anything. Like, they could just be targeting you for fun. So you do have some persons who basically weaponize, I would go to the length to say they weaponize the app and actually use it for, their evil deeds. But I think all in all, that's a risk you take with any form of dating, like even physically, because you introduce to somebody through a friend and then that person and get married to them and then that person turns out to be an abuser. You know what I mean? Like Jennifer Lopez. Met the guy in the diner. Turns out he was an abusive husband, but he was perfect like the first year. Yeah. So I think there's a risk in all of it, but I definitely get you guys' opinion. But for me, that was what my quarantine of the week was about. It was definitely understanding and realizing that, hey, there was increased activity with these dating apps. Have you guys ever tried a dating app? What do you think about it? Currently, I am still weighing out the options. I'm active on a few of them.
Have you met anyone?
Have you ever been catfished? Anybody? Have you ever been catfished?
I have not got it to the point where I would have been catfished, I think I could say. I've not gotten that far. So I was not super active on them. Like, I wouldn't check it every day. So I think that's a part of it too. I think you have to be really consistent with it, with the communication or whatnot. I have met a couple of persons that I have swiped right on and they also matched me back. Still in the beginning phases of getting to know the persons. I've met like one that's here in the Bahamas, and I've met a couple that are stateside. It's just really cool to, I wouldn't say have a quarantine bay, but it's so cool to just talk to somebody, especially when you're single. And then and then all of your friends are not single, so like they don't understand your grief. So yeah. But I will keep you guys updated weekly on the progress of my investigation of dating apps during quarantine.
Hey, your Tinder exercise.
My Tinder exercise.
All right. Well, another social experience that somewhat involves dating apps or some form of dating is a new Netflix show that recently came out. It's called Too Hot to Handle. So what it is they flew out these young, hot influencers to a private island for a luxurious all-paid vacation. Sounds good. Sounds very sexy, romantic. So these influencers thought that they were coming to hook up with other influencers and make beautiful babies and some magic in Mexico.
Like, they really thought that.
They did. And once they arrived, that's when they found the plot twist of the show. So these influencers are going to make, they would split $100,000 if they did not have sex.
Technically, it wasn't supposed to be split. It was supposed to be given to one person.
True.
But then, I don't want to kill it for everyone, but then they ended up splitting it.
So one person takes the prize?
It was initially,
initially
it was it.
Yeah. So they would have to go a month without having sex. And the rules also included
sex.
You can't kiss, you can't touch a person intimately, and definitely not have intercourse.
Or self-pleasure.
Those persons would have had to deal with some restraint. Some of them could, some of them couldn't. Annie, you watched the show. Tell me your take on it.
So for me, it was so silly, but I loved it. It was like you can just watch one episode. You just had to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened was I started with the first episode and I was like, this is foolishness. Not going to watch it. And then before I knew it, I was at the end of it. It was like 10, they say, extremely beautiful people on an island. So there was obviously a lot of sexual chemistry. And the purpose of it was for them to find more so emotional connections and not just physical connections or sexual connections. And so for them, it was a challenge. For others, they did a pretty good job, but I personally don't think the funny part. What is it called? It looks like a respirator thing.
Oh, you mean the Alexa thing?
Yeah, it's something like that. But she was named Lana. So she would give them like instructions on different things and different tasks. And then she would also be the one to say, well, for any person that would have had any kind of sexual interaction, whether it was a kiss or something, they would deduct money from the $100,000. So like a kiss was $3,000 deducted. I think sex was 20,000.
Yeah.
And then any other form, I think it was, and then
Somewhere
any other form of like sexual act was around 6,000 around
Why
there.
did they leave with the end?
So this, so at the end of the last episode, they had about 53,000 or 48,000, somewhere around there.
40,
But the
47.
couple that fell in love, yeah, it was about 48, somewhere around there. The couple that broke the rules the most, they forced them into a room together where they couldn't have no kind of sexual contact. If they did, all the money that they had lost over the course of the month, they would have been able to gain it back. Nobody thought that they would have been able to do it, but they did it. I think they had sex, personally. But
Was it Harry and Francesca?
It's Harry and Francesca.
Yes. They I guess survived it, and they were able to win back most of the money. So they ended the show with 75,000. That was split amongst like 8 of them.
No, 10 individuals. So each person.
Which is, I was just like,
But the thing is, in the U.S., there is income tax. So it was 75 that they would have been awarded,
Accurate.
and then that had to be taxed. So they may have walked away with about $5,000 of that, depending on how much the income tax is in the state that the show is licensed in.
Only $5,000 after
Right.
giving a month of your life away.
Right.
Well, you know,
and I think it was
you
like
want
only
an all
2. It was
expense
literally
paid
only 2
vacation.
couples at the end of it. Yeah, but you had no sex.
Literally.
There was beautiful people around you. You couldn't even touch them in no manner. For $5,000,
I mean,
$7,000, however much.
I appreciate the message that Netflix was trying to send, but
Yeah, but
the show lacked that
Yeah, it
compelling
was-
factor.
I mean, I think
missing.
it was okay. It was okay. But Lana,
had the notion of wanting to like see if it's possible, but I think that element of that, I mean, because at the end of the day, right, like all the reality shows, even like when they go under the covers and they just start giggling and then it hits the block, we know what they did.
Yeah. I think the whole purpose of the show was that all of these persons, they were very good looking, and they were persons that never committed to relationships. Like they would have sex and then move on. So the whole idea was for them to create emotional bonds with people, rather than using the physical aspect to actually use like the emotional aspect of it. And that was the purpose of it, because they had, was it like retreat activities where the guys did something pertaining to self-strength, and the females did something pertaining to loving themselves and different things like that. So I think, I don't know how I feel about it though. It was funny, but I really don't think any of them actually left with anything useful. Now, one thing I do wish though, that they had a reunion show. Because it just ended.
I noticed that, and I really feel that they didn't have a reunion because the show was not as captivating as, let's say, Love is Blind.
Maybe they're planning a reunion. You don't. You guys sure?
I mean, it's true.
Well,
they may have planned a pre-quarantine reunion, and then COVID may have messed with those plans. It's very true.
Well, I actually had like based on the first episode, I actually had a favorite. My favorite guy was the hippie one from Colorado. Loved him.
Hold on, do you mean
Derek?
Matthew?
No, Matthew.
Matthew.
This was my pet peeve with
Jesus.
the show. That was my pet peeve with the show.
Yeah,
So,
like they were calling him Jesus. I was just
as
like,
a Christian, they kept referring to Matthew as Jesus because he has long, flowy hair.
he was fine.
And okay, no. So
Again, I only watched episode 1,
So what it was there is this announcer who moderates the show.
She was horrible.
I liked her. She was the
And
only
she
thing
sounded
going
like
for
a
the
black
show.
woman.
Her and Lana,
She's horrible.
She's a black woman because she's the one who does the circle as well.
I didn't know that she was black.
Yeah, she is.
I couldn't tell.
You can hear it. You can hear
Really?
it. Yeah.
I thought she was a human being that just had a interesting personality. I didn't know. I can tell that she was black.
Friend, what?
I honestly can tell.
Yeah, she was black. You couldn't tell. You really couldn't tell. For me, it was just like, the show was just, it was good for entertainment purposes. Leave it like that. But I think when this morning, actually, I was trying to figure out if any of the couples were still together. But it seems like Harry and Francesca are still, yeah. But Sharon and, what's her name? Rhonda. They haven't posted on each other's Instagram, so I don't know if they're still together. I doubt it, though. I don't think so.
So they are-ish. So they've been doing some interviews recently, and Rhonda stated that they have not had the opportunity to actually meet up since the show filmed a year ago. So the show was actually filmed 1 year ago, similar to like how Love is Blind was filmed a year ago.
But my thing is with that is, how do you handle, like, sorry to cut you off, but like, I'm really baffled as to how do they deal with each other if they live in completely different countries or states. How does that even work?
So that's what their issue is at the time. So I think he's in another state and she's in Atlanta. So they still communicate on the phone, they still message each other, they still FaceTime, but they have not had the opportunity to meet face to face. So both of them are still single. They've not dated anyone since. But that's just where they are in the relationship.
Okay.
Whereas Harry and Francesco, who I honestly thought would have ended a week after.
I literally thought so as well.
They are talking about marriage and babies, and I'm just like, okay.
What?
Yeah. Harry
But I think they live in LA or something.
Harry is a cool 22.
What was the name of the blonde girl that got expelled?
Haley.
Haley and Matthew, I knew from the beginning that they wouldn't last. Like,
her attitude was poor. It was like, what was your purpose? What was your purpose?
Haley
and Matthew just didn't.
She clearly was
anybody
pissed.
else.
Matthew said he was looking for a deep connection. He found one girl that came later in the season, talked her to death, did not allow her to speak, and then turned around and said he got no connection with nobody, so he think he's leaving.
So Matthew is looking for someone who's going to listen to him, not someone who's going to.
Right, Matthew is deep. Matthew is connected with himself. So literally, his self is the main character in his life.
That show's not for Matthew. Matthew needs to go dating on his own.
Matthew needs to do Love is Blind.
I think he would fail.
You think so?
I do.
It ain't fair.
I do think he would fail.
I don't think he would get married.
Do.
I don't think he would get married.
No, he wouldn't get married.
He wouldn't get married.
No.
Because he would be talking about how he still needs a deeper connection.
I guess.
After talking to someone for weeks in a pod, what else do you want, Matthew?
He wants that connection.
Yeah.
That hobo connection.
Has there been any other TV show that may have piqued your interest during this quarantine time? Something that popped up recently?
I don't know if it's on Netflix, but there's this one show that I really want to start watching. For those of you who watch Greenleaf, it's oh gosh, not the daughter of Pastor Greenleaf, but the brother's daughter, I can't remember her name right now, it evades me. But there's this new show coming out called Selah and the Bees, and I really want to watch it. It's kind of like a high school drama where these kids are, oh God, this sounds really horrible saying it out loud now. So these kids have different cliques within high school, and they all have a head leader of said clique, and that head leader they run drugs out of the high school. Like, you have one clique that's in charge of weed, one clique's in charge of coke, like, they some drug kingpins in high school. And so, and so this show is circled around this one girl. She's the cheerleader, Selah, and she now needs to find a protege because she's a senior. So she now needs to find somebody to take over the reins. And I just find it interesting. So I haven't started it yet. I'm going to find it. I don't know if it's on Netflix or Hulu, but I will find a way to watch it.
So speaking of Hulu, and then we're going to come right back to the shows that we're watching. In the Bahamas, we have the joy and benefit of having Netflix. But there are tons of different streaming networks that I so wish that we could have. Disney Plus being one of them. Like right now.
Oh my God. I know, right?
I could truly go for a nice Disney Plus.
What is on Disney Plus though? Like I've heard everybody keep talking about.
It's
Disney
like
Plus.
all of the old Disney shows, literally.
It's not only that. Anything that the Disney company owns, so that's Marvel, that's TV shows that are on ABC, as well as all of the Disney Channel shows. Disney Plus is still catering more to the younger / young at heart demographic. They don't want to include their mature content on Disney Plus, so that's where they feature the items on Hulu. So Hulu is also owned by the Disney group of companies.
Okay. So Disney Plus, can we get it in our pockets, or is it not even available at all?
It's not available in our region.
Oh, wow.
They should respect us. We are right on side of them. Okay? We are their good friends.
We are right there.
I appreciate that.
A lot of persons really feel that the Bahamas is a part of the United States, so I agree with that.
I agree. I mean, at this point, what more do you want from us? We soon start paying taxes for them.
Agree, but let's hope that does not happen because we can't afford it right now.
All right, but
definitely. But
back to the shows. So, Trent, what's your guilty pleasure right now?
Right now, I finished The Walking Dead, so I'm trying to find something else to be indulged in. I finished Money Heist. I restarted. Remind me, Ramesh. You don't know?
Ramesh don't live with you to remind you.
I restarted the show with the girl up Victorious. What's the name again? I'm having a brain fart.
Oh, Dynasty.
I restarted Dynasty.
Oh, I love Dynasty. I love Fallon.
The first time I started to watch it didn't capture me. Like I need a storyline that's gonna capture me to keep me watching. Is somebody gonna die anytime soon? Is there gonna be a murder case? I'm on episode 6, please.
There definitely will. There will. There will be murders. There's a lot of mystery. A lot of things.
But you're not gonna miss any of your favorite characters though.
Right.
It's not like Grey's Anatomy where Grey's like
kills off.
Bad and Walking Dead, right?
Right, where you lose people that you build these connections with.
Right.
No. You're not going to lose any of those, but it is a show that's going to keep your mind going like, what the hell just happened?
I love Elizabeth Gillies, by the way. I think she's a great actress. I love her energy. I just love her.
Fallon Carrington really does it for me. Like, she's there. Nadia, how far are you in Dynasty?
I'm up to date. I watch every Friday on CW.
Nadia.
Is it really that good?
Nadia.
I'm trying.
The Proposal.
Can I say the N-word on this show?
Yeah.
The nigga in me is trying to enjoy it, okay?
Okay, so we'll leave it. We won't touch on it, but let's just say Fallon has been through, you know, as vindictive as she is, and that is her nature. That will never change, no matter what happens. But she goes through a lot, and I kind of feel for her at some
She
point.
develops as a character. That's
So
what it is.
that encourages me to keep watching then.
Yes, so
Yeah.
season 1 Fallon will not be season 2 Fallon, and definitely not season 3 Fallon. You definitely get to see different layers of her. And because her layers change, the characters that she connects with closely, their layers also change. So keep watching. Trust me, it's a show that you're going to, at the end of the day, really love. That's as much as I'm going to tell you. Honestly, give it a watch. This is the best time to do it.
I'm not really much of a series. Like, I don't really like a lot of different things. So for me, I don't have anything that I'm like stuck on. The only thing that I've been watching a lot of is The Crown. I don't know why. I really love the show, and I can watch it over and over. So like when I get bored, I'll probably watch The Crown again. But other than that, I have no show that is like I have to watch every week.
Okay, so you're more of a movies person, just killing.
I'm not even that, because it takes me like half an hour to find a movie on Netflix.
Okay.
Like I'll search and search and search, and then after some point I just be like, F it, and then go on YouTube and just put something on YouTube playing in the background while I'm on my phone. It's just like, I don't know. But I saw someone posted, which I'm probably going to do on Instagram this morning, that Netflix has all of the Fast and Furious movies.
All?
Yeah, it was Nicole, right? Yeah.
It was Nicole.
She posted
Nicole
it.
is actually watching all 8 films.
I'm probably going to do that.
To rank them. Now, for me, Tokyo Drift is the worst in the franchise.
So I don't even include that as one of the movies, even though it is. Like, I don't even rank that on the list.
Yep.
I don't remember all, so I can't even talk. That's why I think I need to watch them all.
I hate the Fast and Furious franchise.
What?
I wasn't a big fan of it either, but then the 7th movie or something like that, I started to like it. So I have to go all the way back now to bring myself in the current. But I like them.
What don't you like about it?
I just feel like it's the typical generic action film that uses a bunch of cars and
explosions,
commercial ideas to capture you. It doesn't capture me emotionally. There are no characters that I relate to. I just don't like it. The story in itself, it doesn't keep me interested.
Do you think that the storyline is repetitive? Like, you know that it's going to be Fast and Furious?
I guess.
Touche.
Probably.
Okay.
But something like John Wick, like, that's a story. But Fast and Furious is like...
Would never watch it.
Yeah, I'm like I get bored and change it.
You have to watch John Wick.
Oh, no.
Do you like action?
I just never watched Money Heist. I just never watched Money Heist.
Fast and Furious is probably the most action movie I've watched.
Annie has watched Money Heist, right?
No, I have not.
Annie, you have not watched Money Heist?
No, I have not.
Oh,
like,
that's
I don't
a
even
series you
get
need to
it.
sit down and watch. No, log off of the podcast and go start watching.
Like last week, Trent tried to get me into it, and I was just like, yeah, okay. I never watched it.
I told her she had to at least watch the first 3 episodes before she really gives it a chance.
Why do I have to watch all 3 episodes to get into it?
Don't be in your phone watching it, because that's a mistake I made first, and I wasn't interested. But when I gave it a shot one more time, I put my phone down and I sat down and watched it. I really enjoyed it. Don't be in your phone. Don't watch TV. Don't be on YouTube. Don't do nothing else.
Anya, do you have a fear of building connections with TV characters?
Tokyo, that's my girl.
It's true. I know I build connections with my TV characters from time to time.
No, you know. I don't really think I get that involved. I really don't think I get that involved. Like the one series that I kind of got involved in was Greenleaf.
Okay.
And I kind of got involved in it, but and The Crown, that's it. Like, I'm not a
you don't really
TV person, so and Jane the Virgin. Like, I have like weird interest. Jane, like, there's no there's no commonality between the shows that I like. Greenleaf, Jane the Virgin, The Crown. They're so different.
Okay.
You know, a show that I watched last weekend that I was supposed to tell you about, Ramesh, Black AF.
I heard it's not good.
I watched Black AF.
I like it, but it's like Blackish, pretty much.
Is it as good as Blackish?
So I never watched a lot of episodes of Blackish for me to say if Blackish was really good, but I know enough to know that it's like Blackish. That's all I can say.
I heard
it's
it
good.
doesn't.
I liked it though. But it's so short. It's like it was only like 8 episodes.
So it is like Blackish, but remember, Blackish is actually based on his life. So now he decided to be he's in it now, like the producer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's Kenya Barris. So now it's going to be him in this show talking about his 6 kids, which he does have in real life. And it's a more not raunchy, but it's a more provocative version of Blackish. Like they curse a lot. You get to see how his personality is in real life. They even have Tyler Perry in it, and Tyler Perry was cursing. And I was
that one show had too many celebrities.
But it's his life. That's who all he interacts with. Is
Tyler
real
Perry
life.
curse.
Yeah,
I've definitely heard
F-bomb.
I've never heard him curse.
You've definitely heard Medea curse.
Nope, Medea don't curse.
I've never heard Medea curse.
Medea does not curse.
She'll say she's
She'll
cursed
say
before.
She'll say the D word.
I'm pretty sure.
She said the A word. I think and the S word.
I think
I've heard
in the plays. I feel like in the plays she curses.
Yeah, not in the movie. Not in the movies.
I have been watching Tyler Perry from I was a kid. All his work, and I've never heard him curse. So you'll have to show me that. Find that clip.
I don't know where he curses.
We'll research it and send it.
I've heard it before. It's not obviously not that often, but I've heard it before.
Okay.
But try Black. Watch it. Try it. You can literally watch it in 2 hours, maybe 3.
So
right now.
On Twitter, some of the comments were that it doesn't show the American Black experience, because there was this whole thread talking about how persons don't feel like Blackish portrays Black America. And then someone made a valid point. They said, we have sufficient, everybody hates Chris's, and these shows that show the Black struggle, and we're finally getting shows that show successful Black people in America.
I agree with that person.
A lot of persons didn't feel like it was relatable. And then someone joked and said, in what Black family do you see that the kid can curse at their parent and get away with it?
True.
The kids, they do curse at their parents.
But you know what amazes me? You know what amazes me about Black Twitter though, and the Black Lives Matter movement? I feel like whether they realize it or not, it's more of a African American lives movement. It's not really a Black
in general,
Matter or Black Lives movement, because they don't know nothing about colonialism and things that go on with Black people in the West Indies and Africa and other places in the world. They only really know of things that go on in America.
And I feel like that's Black American culture in general, that everyone has this one-track-minded focus on how the Black experience is. So if I didn't experience this as a Black person, either I'm not Black enough or my card should be revoked or I shouldn't be allowed at the table. But everybody's experience is different. So for Black AF, it may be that they were born into a Black successful family and this is how they live. And this is how they celebrate Black life. Versus
so for like Kenya, the dad, his whole thing was the reason they were in this position is because of slavery. That's literally every episode, slavery.
Yep.
Like that would be like the topic of every episode, such and such because of slavery.
So we always try to
like,
back.
Yeah. I think the storyline is kind of good, but it's not like the best show out there.
Okay.
So my take on it, what I really liked was when they actually involved Tyler Perry in it. You know, Kenya's whole thing was, are people just liking my shows because I'm Black and they feel obligated to? because they don't want to offend the Black person. And
Okay.
so Tyler Perry's take on it when he talked to him, which I completely agree with, was that Tyler didn't care. Like, his thing was, I'm not making it for approval. I'm making it for our people. Like, our people know what we're talking about. They know about the barbecues in the backyard. They know what it is, and they relate to it. And the fact that they like it is basically approval enough for him. So his thing was, yes, you went mainstream and you made a lot of great hits. Because remember, Kenya also did Girls Trip.
Mm-hmm.
He's the writer for Girls Trip. So his whole thing was, yes, you're successful and you went mainstream to be successful, but if they don't like your stuff, that doesn't mean that you should stop making it. Unless you're really only making it for them. You should be making it for your people, which is, what you say you're making it for, like your foundation.
I think that's one thing that I also have. I'm back and forth with. So the argument also is that a lot of Black actors or a lot of Black actresses or directors or producers don't get the exposure, or even writers don't get the exposure that a lot of their white counterparts. Do you feel it is because they write content solely directed towards Black culture versus a more generalized script? So like Kenny would be doing a Girls Trip or something that's just a comedy. It's not necessarily focusing on a Black struggle or a Black family. It's just happens to be Black people in this movie.
I disagree with that, because Shonda Rhimes is for Grey's Anatomy.
Correct. And yes, she still has multiracial actors on that show. Same as Scandal, same as How to Get Away with Murder. She writes television that appeals to a wide variety of people, but she still celebrates Black people being successful in these roles. So
Right.
how do you feel about some writers who feel that they're selling out to do that versus focusing on, oh, we were enslaved or we live in the projects, this is what we need to focus on?
So for me, I understand the struggle. I understand the concern. I understand it. I don't want it to be made known that I don't get where they're coming from. But I think it's a double-edged sword, because in order for you to be able to tell your story to a larger audience, you have to appeal to the mainstream media, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difficulty behind sticking to your truth and still having it be received or positively received enough to be put on those platforms. So it's a double-edged sword, because the sad part is you can't get, or it's perceived that you can't get as nitty-gritty as you'd want to, because then you would offend person. You would offend a child that may flip to your channel. So it's difficult. I think what Kenya in particular tried to do, especially, was with, now, we have like a ton of ish shows. There's Black-ish, there's grown-ish, and then there's mixed-ish now. And I think mixed-ish tried to touch on that notion of an interracial family and the struggles that they go through with dealing with their kids and coming into the mainstream society. And at one point, going against what they usually would stand for, just to be able to provide to their family. Like, I think in one episode, the mom decided to get a job, but it was how she was dressed that went against everything she stood for. And the husband was kind of like we said that we would not change when we came here, and here you are. So
Yeah.
I think it's hard.
I think I don't know. I think that people will always, it's either a win or lose situation. There's always going to be some people that are going to think that you sell out. And then there's always going to be some people that are going to say you're standing for the culture or whatever. So I guess Tyler Perry gave the best advice though in that show. Like, you just have to do it. Tell your story and do what you have to do. At the end of the day, everyone isn't going to like it or accept it. You just got to take the loss or take the win, whatever comes with it. But you just have to know that what you're putting out there is something that you believe in and that you want to put out there.
Right.
You guys want to know my honest opinion on this topic?
Yes.
I think that the definition of what mainstream is racist. That's just my opinion. I do encourage creating content that relates to everyone, but at the same time, there are a lot of movies and shows out there where white culture is, you know, obviously drenched in the show, and those shows are still very successful. So why, whenever a show that comes out that is filled with black culture or black notations, all of a sudden it's, oh, if you want to be more successful, you have to be more mainstream. What is the definition of mainstream? Once we're able to change that, then we can move forward in terms of racism. Now, the world is a less racist place. We've definitely made some improvements, but I still think in terms of Hollywood and mainstream, there are a lot of improvements that we need to make.
So, as a culture, and I want us to be frank and realistic. As a culture, do we support our black films, our black music, our black artists? Or do we try and pirate those items? So do we try and go on YouTube and download someone's album versus actually going out and supporting them? Do we wait for someone's movie to hit Netflix so that we can watch it from the comfort of our homes versus going out to the movie theaters and helping this to become a blockbuster? Are we part of the issue with it, or is it solely, do you think, Hollywood?
We don't support our own people as much as we should.
Right.
Let's just be honest about it. We really don't. Like, we'll hear a snippet of something, and if we don't like it, we're not even going to give it a chance to say watch it and because you're like how y'all encouraging me to watch Money Heist. Trying to say 3 episodes in, then you'll finally like it. But when our people put something out, if after the first 3 minutes I feel like this is foolishness, I turn it off. Or I exit it. I won't even give it a try. And then when someone asks my opinion on it, I'll say, well, that's trash. Not giving that artist or whomever it is putting work out there an opportunity or a chance to prove themselves. Because it's sometimes some things are hit and miss. The first show or the first song may not always be the best one, but we want to give them one try or one chance to get it right. And if you can't get it right from the first go round, we automatically exile them out or say that they are incapable of doing it.
Well, that's true, because case in point would be the Fast and Furious brand. No matter how annoyed you may be with another Fast and Furious movie coming out, you're still going to go. But if there's a new Madea show coming out, you're going to be less inclined to go because you're going to be like, Madea again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we don't say, even with Fast and Furious, we say Fast and Furious again, but I have to see that in the movie. Madea, I'll just wait for that to get copied and I'll watch it 2 years after it come out.
Or wait till I drive to Wendy's and buy the DVD from the guy who's selling it on the side. Wendy's drive-thru.
Correct.
Accurate.
I get it.
So I think the flip side for me then is, do you feel compelled to have to then support these black artists because you're black? Or do you actually support these black artists because, oh my gosh, they're creating such great work, let me support them?
Black artists?
Like black actors, black musicians, black painters.
Do black people buy, okay, let's use music for example.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, do black people buy music entirely, whether it's white or black? Let's be honest. So for me, when we talk about mainstream, that racism issue still applies. I feel like a lot of people like to use that, oh, black don't support black, conversation to answer to the racism in the mainstream sector. That's just my opinion.
So not to negate the fact that, yes, racism still exists and is still prevalent, but if we aren't pushing for our artists to become mainstream and move them to this next level of their careers, why should we expect another culture or another race to help those same artists if we aren't supporting themselves?
I agree with that.
because we know, let's say the Grammys, we know that it's a board of older white men. We can't expect a group of older white men that have been trained and groomed to have this one-track mindset to move music to that next level. It's up to us, this generation, to then say, hey, this is a great artist. This is why it's important for me to stream their music or purchase their album or promote them on my social media so that other persons also support them. We are who's going to make an artist mainstream. So it can't just be where we see them on Instagram or see them on these different social media platforms and be like, oh yeah, the music good. If I go to a party, I'm going to listen to it, or if I'm in my room, I'm definitely going to play their song. But we have to then, as well as a culture, take it to the next level and actually support these artists. Vocalize our support for these artists. If you look at certain fan bases, let's take the Taylor Swift fan base. Taylor Swift can put on an album, and just because her name is attached to it, they're going to purchase it. They're not going to listen to it. A lot of them purchase those albums and never hear a song off of it unless they're at the concert. Okay?
Yeah.
Whereas, let's say a Kendrick Lamar fan, you may only know 3 or 4 of those songs, and that's because what you heard on the radio. You don't know the full length of his album, and if you do, more chances out of 1, you didn't purchase that album. You just went on YouTube, and once the song got placed on YouTube is when you listen to it.
That's me. I'm that person. I'm that YouTube person.
So in this era of streaming has truly helped, I would say, Black artists to move more on musicians versus movies, but musicians move more to the forefront, but it still applies across all of the different media. So movies, if we don't promote Black films or films that have Black actors and actually support them, and they're still not going to land those roles, because at the end of the day, why am I going to hire a Black actor who's not drawing in a blockbuster film for me when I could hire Jennifer Aniston? Not saying that these other artists aren't great actors and actresses, but at the same time,
or better,
they are equivalent. It shouldn't be that way. All about the money term. At the end of the day, I need to make my money back. I'm not investing $120 million in a film and then only getting $60 million back from it.
I understand. But what do you guys think of? Okay, let's use the Grammys for example. When we look at the top categories or certain categories like Album of the Year, why is it that an excellent hip hop album never is nominated for Album of the Year? It's always nominated.
Isn't that contributed to sales?
No. So that's what I touched on. It's a committee of older white men. So once again, I can't expect an older white man to make a decision unless I start to vocalize. Not only that, unless I start to vocalize, sir, you need to sit down and listen, or I have to break it down for you. Unless you have more than one person. And a lot of times, the media is not going to do that. The media is not going to push and say, oh, one of the albums that we think is going to be nominated for Album of the Year is XYZ. Because the only people talking about it is Black Twitter. Most of the media isn't looking at Black Twitter to get their input. So if we're not truly supporting, right? So it's not like Black artists like a Beyonce or Rihanna or Kanye or Jay-Z, who are at the top of their careers, who stay in the mainstream sector. There are artists like her and SZA who are creating great music, but because they're novelty, or, oh, she just came on the scene, that's why you hear about them. But after a while, they start to fizzle out because it's not like everyone is collaborating with a SZA or not looking forward to downloading her music. So it's not, there aren't those artists that are fully supported who get back in the front of these Grammy nominators to say, let's put her for Album of the Year.
Beyonce and Rihanna always wins Best Urban Album, and they've never won Album of the Year. But Taylor Swift has won it 3 times.
Agreed. But to appease the masses, they ensure that their names are listed sometimes.
They're always like a Black person.
I think Rihanna won that.
They will put them there to appease the masses, but that's not who I'm voting for.
Yeah, it's just there just because to make it look pretty. Right. But that's definitely not
the goal.
But so it still goes back to my point. So if we continue to support more and more Black artists, who then they may maximize the album of the year category, then at one point a Black artist will have to win. But it's all about us supporting those individuals and those crafts.
Yeah.
We have to stop settling, I guess,
Agreed.
and push some more.
But will we actually push some more? We probably won't.
Also, do you feel that we are more of a talking community or an action community? Like
Talking.
we will
We
sit
can
down
run
here
on for hours.
And hours.
like, how dare they? But once we log off of our computers right now, will we then go and say, let me go download this album? Or
I'm not signing that petition. I'm not paying for Apple Music to get.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
I mean, I do have Apple Music, but we're more of a talking. We're going to talk. We're going to bitch about it. We're going to row about it. But are we actually going to move on it? No.
That will be forever one of our greatest struggles. So yes, we're passionate about it. We're going to vocalize. We're going to let you know that we don't appreciate it. When we actually stand up and attempt to make that change, that's where we need to start moving forward with now.
Sign the petition.
I think a lot of artists are afraid to make that step because they don't want to be blacklisted.
Yeah.
That's
the entertainment business and that music business, it's a lot more to it than we know because we're not in it. So they have to be extremely careful with what they say, what they do, because
how they act.
Right, because at any minute all of that can be taken away from them.
Rihanna said something that stuck with me. If your friends, if your white friends, your straight friends, whatever the case may be, whatever struggle that you go through, if they don't support your struggle, then they're not your real friends, and they ain't enough in it.
Okay. So that's just how you have to look at it. And it goes back to what you're saying. Why is it that only Black people have to support it? Then we need to associate ourselves with other persons that support us. So not only going out and saying, oh my gosh, I have a friend, her name is Becky, and me and Becky hang out.
With the good hair.
You know, and Becky listens to Black music. She's down. She's coming to the picnic.
She's woke.
I don't get this woke thing. I really don't get this woke thing. That's a whole other conversation, but I get annoyed when people say that. Like, you're not woke. What the hell does that even mean?
I get annoyed.
What are you trying to say? I don't know enough about the Black culture
with the struggle of all people, not of. Well, I think it was mainly started for Black people. Like, you don't get it until you get our, how much.
It was initially started with the Illuminati.
Oh boy!
And then there's trends.
That's a whole lot of topic, but I think that takes us back full circle in that there's a one-track mind on how a Black experience should be, and if you don't have that experience, like you said, Anya, you're not woke enough. So I think we need to change our mindset of, we need to start to change our mindset of what this Black experience is, and not necessarily ignore a person's struggles, but also raise the value of what it means to be Black. Not everybody's Black experience is eating bologna and cheese sandwich. Some person's Black experience is being able to work hard so that their family can have a better life. So I think that we need to
celebrate it.
Right. I think we need to showcase and celebrate the Black journey and not just the Black experience, show the different tiers and different levels of us. Because at the end of the day, if we only focus on our lower class, and yes, we do need to focus that we have struggles, but if we don't focus on our successes, we're never going to be recognized for our successes. We're always going to be looked at as like, oh, wow, you're a millionaire? So you're Black? We have to change the narrative and have persons understand that, yes, we can do these different things and celebrate it as a community.
Agree. Yeah. Totally.
All right. So, guys, this has been our first web-based, video-based podcast. It's been great being able to see you. I'm sure our audience is going to be excited to finally get to see each and every one of us and get to see a different side of us.
Apologies for not being super in the camera. My spinach dip smells amazing though.
How's it going? You're all done?
It's in the oven, but it smells great. Taste-wise, we'll see.
We'll hear about it. So we're going to be doing a web-based, video-based podcast from now on, just so you get to interact with us just a little bit more. But it's been fun. Any parting words from our community team?
I'll go first.
Try out some new shows.
Yeah, I agree with that. Neil. Find some new shows. And, you know, guys, you can even let us know some things you'd like to hear us talk about. Anything that's on the top of your mind. But I will keep you guys involved on, again, my QuaranTINDER lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Hear about this romance. And there's some new shows.
I hope you try out some new shows. I guess I'll be doing that this week. Help me, God.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just let us know what you guys want us to talk about. We're open to all suggestions. And I hope Nadia finds a quarantine babe very soon.
All right.
Yes, I'll definitely be looking into new shows as well. And take care, everybody. And like everyone said, give suggestions because we would like to hear your feedback.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we do this podcast, yes, because we're looking for some persons who share a similar mindset as ours, but we also want to hear your opinions. Tell us if you agree with some of the things we spoke about today. You may disagree with some of the things. Let us know your point of view. We're looking to expand and grow as a team and take our podcast to the next level. For me, this week, I think I'm going to focus on my certifications. I'm trying to grow as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, but as a person as well. Spend some more time with my family. Have no other choice. We're stuck inside. And definitely cook some more. So, like I said, I've been exploring in the kitchen, trying some new things. Some things have been, garbage worthy, but other things have definitely been very enjoyable. So if you can experiment, it doesn't have to be something lavish. You can take a can of tuna and transform it into some new fish specialty. But definitely
and if you do practice a can of tuna, please tell us how.
Yeah, so
please.
That's another thing in the comments. Give us some recipes. Give us some ideas. We love to cook. We love to eat. If you're exercising, tell us what your workout routine has been. How have you been dealing with being stuck at home and your at-home workouts? But just communicate with us because, we're part of the community. We're always looking for that hot piping tea. So let us know. And thank you for joining us on week 3.
Bye, guys.